Good morning, everybody. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It's about 9 o'clock on is it Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. Starting to lose track of my days when you don't ever leave the house. It's very nice to see everybody kind of jumping in yesterday into daily stand up. Fantastic seeing you, Kara or Rebecca, Tejal, Luigi. I know Kara, or not Kara. I know Rebecca's on a bit of a break now. Holidays, Passover time, and taking a moment to spend with family. I think that's really good. We're all spending a little more time with our families these days, and that's completely okay. But it is nice to get outside and go for a walk occasionally. Um, Guess I'll do my daily stand up right here. Yesterday was nuts. I totally melted down my Gatsby build. Wasn't even sure if I could like push again, and it's all about updating. And I definitely hit the wrong button. I like ran the wrong command, and like I think I uninstalled something, and then had to like tear everything down and build it back up again. Um, but it is kind of it's one of those things that I remember having to do something similar several years ago and being deathly afraid I was going to destroy my machine and or my project. And this time it was like, oh, it was like, oh god, maybe it was an unsatisfactory hour of my day, but it wasn't like a oh my god, what I just do thing. We get better with time. And I hope that that sort of thing plays out well for you. There's always there's always something that you're going to need to tackle, regardless of whether it's technical or maybe it's just philosophical approach to design. And I think you get better over time. And one of my edicts is that you've got a lot of stuff, and you never can really control like how deep into it that you get. A lot of times, designing on projects, like Tejal right now, we're gonna look at Tejal's COVID-19 project that she's working on with a group of people she did not know last week this time. Okay, that project is it's like a wave come in. It could be a big wave, it could be a little wave. Tejal is Tejal. She may be getting completely overwhelmed, or she may be handling her own. Regardless of what it is, the wave is what the wave is, and as you gain experience, which Tejal has quite a bit of working with teams, um, you you always there's always a bit of a struggle, but how much you struggle, I think, depends on your experience level. Um, I have no doubt that that Tejal is working well with the team that she has, mainly because she just knows how to work with teams. She's done a lot of work with teams. So I'm super excited to look at her work. And Katie's back. Katie, and this time I love it. I took a little sneak peek right before feedback loop, and it looks like Katie's got a fully baked out set of wireframes. This is really good, Katie, because what we're trying to do is get you to the point where you can hook all of these things together, and let's get a working prototype, because we need to spot like where's the holes in the flow. Okay, you set out user flows and you created the story map, and we know where we're trying to go. What stories are we trying to get to? I have a feeling that you're coming up on the point where we'll be able to really tell what you have to work with. And then Lisa, I got some messages from Lisa this morning. Lisa is a new member of our new Pragmatic family here. So shout out to Lisa. I know she's probably watching, and I am excited. Yeah, it looks like the live stream has posted, so that's good. I was mainly wondering if the live stream had posted. Um, Lisa's got got some questions coming in as well as she's preparing for an interview this afternoon, and I'm super excited for that. So be looking out for those questions. And one other announcement: Portfolio Potluck is this afternoon, noon Central. You should have gotten an email in the overnight if you haven't already signed up. I've been talking about it on social media in a couple of spots, but I just decided to open it up and make sure and just send out the direct blast to everybody, because not everybody follows around on the social media. Portfolio Potluck is going on at noon Central, and I'm also, setting some time aside to talk about what it's like to, what are some things you can do for the job hunt during a pandemic. So, I've got some thoughts there. There are some very interesting things going on. Um, it's interesting. I think it's actually easier to network now than it was 2 months ago. It's definitely easier to network now than it was a month ago, when everybody was just beginning to freak out. We're starting to settle into a new normal. So with that said, I want to go ahead and jump in. Let's get right to it. Um, we're going to start actually with Katie. Katie's got her wireframes. I just want to come through and kind of give an overview, because Katie, you dropped in your post into feedback loop, and I'm just taking a look at what you have here. Yeah, see, this is what I was talking about. And great usage of the grid here. I look at nutrition and I say to myself, okay, well, this is basically just stretching across to here, or maybe it's stretching across to here. Like, that's the unit, and it happens to not take up the full width. That's fine, but it's I can clearly see you're using alignment now, which is great. Feel really good about that progress. Same thing there. Let's see. Add, remove. Yeah, that's all much better. We've got an empty state here. That's fantastic. In the prototype, what you're going to figure out is this filter options. You want to make sure that doesn't move. Like, there's no reason for that to bounce around. It should be in the same spot. But it's okay. You'll get that sorted out. This is way better. Like, all of this is way better than where you were last week when we last saw it. You're on point with the grid here. Log in. Again, you've done a lot of work here to get yourself set up where your wireframe makes so much more sense. I can see how this design begins to elevate beyond the wireframe now. Previously, there, you're now paying closer attention to data and how it appears on screen. Okay, so now we're getting into some new areas that we haven't discussed yet. Okay, and I'm just kind of taking it in as we go. There's a lot of information architecture going on here that I think is it's always interesting as you enter, like, everything down here in the checkout is new. The shopping cart is new. Like, we've discussed everything up to profile, and I think everything up to that point, I can see a dramatic improvement. And what's interesting is, even when we get to the new elements, I'm seeing the benefit of our prior conversations and prior feedback paying off in these new screens. Okay, that's not me saying that everything is perfect, but that is me. That I do want you to realize that I believe, based on our prior conversations, that you're able to listen to what's coming over and make sense of it to move forward. This is all much better than where you were before. Um, I also do like the fact that you did note that, okay, if you're already in the platform, it's just welcome Katie. It's not like cart login sort of situation. Um, at this point, you're not logged in, but then you do log in. I would you've got login and sign in. So I'd make sure that, well, log in, sign in. I always like having that. I like having that consistent. Um, like if you want to log in here, like email password continue or email password login, like get um, so think about language there, because it's flipping between. We commonly say login or sign in, not typically both. Um, so here, and again, and now you're signed in, which that's nice. Um, there is one thing that's interesting about most shopping carts. When you get in to the cart, a lot of times you will see these items disappear. Because I don't want to get into the, I want to finish this flow. I don't necessarily want to talk about this. So I'd remove those at this point. Um, so here you have shipping, pickup, enter new address. I'm guessing that it's either address on file, pickups in store, like it, save address on file. So this is I'm guessing I'm selecting from these. Like here's my order, here's my subtotal and whatnot. Right now you're using boxes on everything. I think at some point, maybe when we get into the final design, this will become a little less like box, box, box. I'm not so worried about it right now because this is a wireframe. I do want you just kind of getting an idea of the space it's going to take up, not necessarily how it's going to be designed. I do encourage you to pay attention to like grids, and I encourage you to pay attention to space. But I'm not going to bang the table on, oh, this should have fewer lines. Like we can talk about all of that when you get into interface. And as Luigi, Kara, and Eve will tell you, I do talk a lot about that as you get an interface. Like, ooh, I don't know about all these lines. So we're now on pay. So this is shipping. The question here I have is, how do I get to, how do I progress to the next? That's a big interface issue that I'm seeing right now. Like here I'm in the cart and I have continue shopping or check out. Okay, check out takes me to sign in, and I click the sign in, and that takes me to shopping. But I'm not sure how I continue from the shopping page to the payment page. So I need some method of making that next move forward. I have a way of moving forward here. I have a way of moving forward here. I'm lacking that ability to get out of this. Now it says if billing address is different, the same fill will pop down just as the address entry. Okay, so that's fine. And then like, how do I say yes? I'm ready to go. Okay, so on order, yeah. Okay, so it seems like right now the only way to get from shipping to payment was to get the payment. I can do that, but I can't get to the summary. Like, so I can't right now. I can't like finalize the deal. I can't like say purchase. I don't have that ability. I do have place order. So right now this is place order. Maybe this is confirm order. This information seems to be staying static, so I'm over here really focused on payment. So maybe there's some sort of, here I should, I'm shipping. I should then say choose payment method, and over here I should say make purchase, and then over here it says, place order. But my point is, while I can finish it, that's great, and while I can get to shipping, that's great. I can't get from shipping to payment to order. So that's really the only big hole that I see here from the perspective of, can I make a prototype out of this, and can I then actually execute on some of the flows? Now, there are other questions like, what flows are you going to take them down? I think that you will be referencing back to user flows, and then the flows that we documented there, and that of course carried you to story mapping. We'll want to revisit that bit of work that you did, which seemed in a pandemic seems like eons ago, but it was actually only a couple of weeks ago. But right here, that needs to be that we need a method to get across. It's just a couple of buttons, but when you're looking at it, and you're thinking as a user like, okay, so I'm not sure how to move forward, that would be a broken part in the interface, and we want to get rid of as many of those broken issues as possible. Okay, so and this very much is a moment where we're trying to eradicate as many errors as possible. There may still be things in the design that pop up, little gremlins that pop up in testing, and somebody says, yeah, I'm just not sure how that works, and you have to go back and fix that issue. That's fine. That's completely fine. That does happen. However, we're trying to get that whittled down to as small a set of issues as possible. This is the latest batch that we need to work on, but I will say that I think overall, from where we started to now, dramatic improvement. Like, really good work, Katie. Super excited. I'll leave some notes in your journal. I would remind you, and some of you do this too, it's fine. You're dropping the Figma file directly in the feedback loop. I think it's a little better when, Tejal is a prime example of this. She's got questions related to her iterations, and she's got that all packaged together in her journal. That's helpful to you, because when you go back through a project and you're trying to figure out, okay, so what did I do so I can talk about this with people, you've got that journal ready to go. Right now, when you drop into the feedback loop, you'd have to sift through all the feedback loop to find the work. So I'll add notes in the journal regarding this update, but the journal habit is real. I think it's beneficial. You can talk with Rebecca or Tejal or Eve or Luigi or Kara. They all follow that journaling philosophy. James is doing a really good job on journaling, even though he's working through a freeform project right now. He's really taken to the journaling aspect as well. So journal, but this is just like way better. Good job. Okay, COVID. So let's see. Tejal may actually have had. Oh yeah, Tejal's like, I'm just gonna put my notes here as well. So this is in the Google Doc. And don't worry, Tejal. I see you. You're right here, and you were just or actually you're right here. And you were nice enough just to bring that over to Figma, which is weird. I got it like a trapped cursor there, and it's there as well. Also, you can see that I had to do a lot of Gatsby updating. But back over to here. There are a number of changes. Change the icons, and I'm going to quickly turn off. I'm just going to turn the grids. I'm going to hide them for a minute. I'm not going to delete them. Let's take a look at these icons you're talking about. Yeah, okay. And I do like, you know, that's way better than the little squiggly like the stethoscope that I freehand drew during yesterday's session. Not so good. Appointment reminder. I like the idea of a calendar with a the pencil that tells me I'm making an appointment. Drive through walk. Yeah, that's all pretty good. Um, walk in required appointment. Oh, okay, all right, got it, Tedgel. Thanks. It's not a problem. That's why I like having the single source of truth. Like the doc is fine. I can do this. I can do this and bounce. It's fine. I appreciate the effort though, Tedgel. So you know, on one hand, I really do like I like the icon updates, walk-in, drive-through, doctor screening, appointment required. I am a little confused about the usage because these are blue, these are blue as well. This is yes, this is no. This is no and it's gray. This is yes and it's red. And it's like, shouldn't we have a consistent flow? Um, you know so the usage model here is bugging me. Um, like yes is good. Um, I guess if I was to map this out, um, I could see these as going gray when it's no. It's like nope, gray, no, gray, no, gray. Yes, blue. I mean, it's kind of interesting because it seems like I want to align these so that I'm not guessing at what is the what is the what does the gray mean, what does the blue mean, what does the red mean. Right now, I don't really know because they mean opposite. I see no here is like they don't map to what the status is. This should be binary. It's like yes, no, yes, no. It's like a light switch. There isn't a you know there either isn't a gray version. There isn't gray, red, blue. It's just red or blue. It's like gray or blue or red or blue, but not all three. Um, so I would map that a little differently. Yeah. So that's one thing. Tested this. Yeah, I think you're fine there. It's more of a card design now than a list, and that's definitely true. Um, and it's still a list. So like, I think about this in terms of how would this work if there were like 12. And one thing I want to do really fast is I want to just kind of take this and like let's. Oh, that's always fun. Um, let's take and group this and let's put it here. Constraints to the top. Let's see if that still. Yep. Okay. I don't know if you saw what happened. I don't know if you saw what happened, but I'm gonna undo that really fast so we can all look at it. So if you look at this map design, when I go to extend the frame, like this gets all wonky. Well, what's getting all wonky? Well, all the shapes are like beginning to twist and bend and move around, and that's unfortunate. That's not what we want. But if we set constraints on it, what that means is constraints come into play. They're over here, and a lot of people don't necessarily understand what they're for. It's just meant to give some control over particular areas. So here, I want this to remain its form. I've grouped it, and then I'm going to set the constraint to the top. That means that if this page grows, which is what I'm trying to do, if this page grows, it's going to remain in place because everything is oriented to the top. If I were to go the other direction with it, it goes with it. It goes up. And that's sometimes difficult to see. If I go side to side, you'll see that it's still stretching, right? And the question is, well, why is that moving? Well, it's because I didn't set the constraint also to the left. Now, if I were to pull, nothing happens. If I flip it to the right, this will be fun. It will move, but the rest of this will stay still. Oh no, it's okay, Tedgel. It's all right. I was just offering my opinion on that. If there is a special reason that you've got it red and gray and blue, and that discussion is ongoing with you and your team, that's fine. I was as a user coming in and looking at it, I was reacting, and I'm always looking for obvious consistency. But back to constraints. If you lock your constraints in, that allows you to resize the frame. And that's something very important as you begin, because where we started at, we started with this, this design is here, and we want to go bigger. And you should have the ability to do that. The thing that I was looking at, and the reason why I was wanting to adjust this larger, is I want to think about this in terms of, okay, not 2 locations, but what happens when we duplicate this and it's many locations. And what I suspect will happen is that this map will stay static. Okay? This map will stay static, and it will have maybe more points on it. Maybe it's got all 4, and the map zooms out to cover all 4. And this is considering that you're keeping your results constrained within 40 miles because you've got this filter here. So this is never going to be a map bigger than 40 miles. Everything's going to be within it. But this will stay in place. These will scroll by, and as you scroll by, it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you get to third, the third one will light up, and the fourth one will light up, and that's fine. But I wanted to look at it a little deeper because I do think that there's a tendency with things like this to think of them as, okay, so what do I do with all this white space? Well, that's where the interaction happens, okay? The interaction is going to be, we scroll and this just stays in place. And that's sometimes hard to see when you are designing with just the 2 in mind. So that's one thought I have on it. I'll try to come back and pull everything back together as I beat everything up. Took off the check marks because I think in this case people get confused. Yeah, agree. I'm using color hierarchy to indicate positive negatives. In this particular case, unavailable options are grayed out. Items are colored red if it's a deal breaker. Otherwise, icons are blue. Yeah, it's interesting. So ride with me for a moment. So trying to get my controls back. If I come in and we say that this is actually going to be the blue, and I don't think that's the actual, no, that's definitely not the actual blue. Maybe it's that one? No, it's gotta be this one. So these are the options that are available, right? but this is a deal breaker. Is there something to do here to indicate that this is a deal breaker? Like, again, we're riffing, and I should be using auto layout to do this, but I didn't, so sorry. Does that allow us to get to the same thing while maintaining consistency of whether that's a thing? The problem here, it's kind of interesting, because in some ways I totally get this, and I bristle at fighting against it, because I do think that I think that this information over here is doing a different job, and maybe that's the trick. Maybe that's the trick, and follow with me. These aren't the deal breakers, right? These aren't the deal breakers. So maybe this is yes, no, it's just gray. Over here, no actually means a good thing, right? So maybe the no is green and the yes is red. There's like a different status to these elements. These are the deal breakers. These are just kind of secondary. These are just like things that are there. All right. And rather than get into the blue is a branding color, but it doesn't tell you. It doesn't give you affirmation. It doesn't affirm whether like this is good or bad. The green says, "Hey, no screening required. You're good to go." But appointments are required, so you got to book that. It calls attention to itself in a way the blue doesn't. So maybe that's an option. Maybe the thing here is that we can't utilize the blue color on these. Like, so I would simplify the things that are just kind of informative, and then I would go with something that's specifically action oriented on and like carry the color carries specific meaning. So maybe that's a way to go. Yeah, so I think we've kind of addressed that. I would look at potentially go, and I love the blue. It's a nice blue, but I want it to carry some clear meaning, and the blue by itself, it doesn't mean good or bad. It's just kind of there. Green tells me that, oh, this is good. Red means bad, and it's red also means required. So maybe it's not so much bad. It's just required. Green is like you're good to go, but there's still that dynamic between the red and the green that doesn't exist if the blue is there. Also, now if you notice, the only available options are seen on the map pop up. If walk-in is not available, interesting. Oh, okay, so this this is not a walk-up place, so it's just drive up doctor and appointment. Okay, that's fine. And that makes sense. Okay. Text to share. Yep. I think that that's smart. While a lot of people know what a share icon is, there's a lot of people that don't. So share is definitely one of those things that I think is necessary. Most people know what the expand button is. So I don't think you ever have to carry like expand, but I do definitely think share is smart to have words with that. They wanted to add report issue, and so report issue is interesting because I'm guessing that this has to do with the data set, like and how they're collecting it. So yeah, our team of volunteers is working around the clock to provide accurate information. If any data you see here is incorrect, please report the issue and we'll fix it. Stay safe. So they are, your team is hand-to-hand combat building this database because a lot of these pop-up centers, there's no database of them to dig into. I'm sure that one will eventually exist, but this is one of these situations where if you wait for the database to exist, the site, time will, you have no idea when that's going to happen, and people need to find these places like right now. So you want to build up a database. So let's say this is Orlando. The rollout of this might be, okay, we've got a list of 15 places in one particular area, and your team will know where the hot zone is. For instance, there's probably more testing areas in New York City than there are in Kansas. So when the database gets saturation, I don't know if it's 10 sites, it's 100 sites, you begin blasting targeted at users in New York City and saying, find your testing site. You're not targeting anybody in Kansas, okay? And yes, this is a nationwide thing, but you are trying to raise awareness of the thing, so you're going to target a particular area. But those sites could move. Some could shut down. Some could be just not really a thing, as we've heard in Kentucky, where they've had people setting up sites that aren't really testing. They're just collecting information, and God knows what's happening with that information. Yes, we're going to swab you, and then they go to the next town and they swab some more people. They do nothing with the samples because there's scams out there happening. That could be a piece of this also as well, just to think about for your team. Is there a verified? We have verified that this health center is an actual site, not some fly by night thing. So verification might be a consideration moving forward. But yeah, I like this. I think it is. You do want it to be substantial. I don't see a logical place for it up top, so I would keep it right there. Added a color option. The gradient makes it look dated. Let's see. It's interesting. It's funny because the gradient feels old to me, but I also know that we were in this period where gradients were all the rage before flat design came in, and then it came back. And sometimes it's difficult for me to think about, okay, is this old because it was before flat design and I'm thinking skeuomorphism, or is it new because it's after all of that? It's where are we in the design theming? I think you're okay. It might be the rounding that's getting you. So if we just said 0, does that feel better? I personally think it feels a little better, but you may not. I do think that it definitely gives this a bit more structure. And what's weird, and I like the gradient. um, is I look at this and I go, would it be better if it's just just straight up, just blue? Like, but that's the problem there for me is I'm coming back to what do I feel comfortable with? I'm going with Metro Design from 2006 because I want it to be flat. Apple wants you to do something more gradient, and so does Google. Frankly, this is not far off from, if I hop in, one of my favorite things to do lately is to hop into the community and let's go look at material design, um, and so let's see here. Let's go with popular. Oh, there's a feedback kit that now that's nice. So when we look at, let's look at so I look at the iOS 13 kit, and I see a lot of two tone. I see a lot of gradient. Like for me, that does, I look at this remote design sprinting. I see a lot of gradient. Um, you know, I do see flat design out there as well. Um, I don't know. You know, I think you might be. I think we're in a spot where if you have 2D, that's fine. If you want to go a little gradient, that's also fine. I think we're I look at this new morphism as what they're referring to here, and those are gradients. They're just constrained. Okay, this almost feels like it's pushing through like paper, like it's on the backside of paper, and it's somehow just subtly pushing through. Um, but does that mean that this is that this is elastic UI framework, and that's a color picker though. So but you know um, design principles like flat, just bold color, resume kit here, clear gradient, Firefox. I see what people are doing, and I see both widely displayed. So I don't necessarily believe that there is a right or wrong for doing it. There's just a how you've chosen to do it, and are you using it consistently? I'm gonna undo my little change where I took your corners away. I don't think that's nice. I think ultimately it's your choice. Um, I do like the color. I could also go without. I'm not. I guess my perspective on it is, you know, make it consistent through the site. Like, if you're gonna do this here, use it on the home page. Um, but is it necessary? Not really. Not really. There's nothing wrong with going pure white with it. I would focus more on my discussion about color right down here. Is it the blue on the icons? Is it the red? And if it's the red, can we get rid of the blue and maybe use green to indicate on those high importance items? And then I'd move forward. Yeah, and I think we've got it here. So Tedgel, that's my breakdown of these adjustments. I think this is way better than what you had yesterday. Yesterday had an issue of like, how do we get it all on screen? This is closer to the version that you had prior to that, but I do think you've definitely moved the ball forward. So good job there. And I'm gonna check in and see if there are any other questions here. Um, Lisa's over here being the best Mary Poppins she can possibly be. Um, yeah. So that's one thing I would say about all of this is we're all tackling some new dynamic right now. Um, I know, I know, Tedral, Kara, Rebecca, myself, we've all got kids at the house, just like you, Lisa. So we feel it. We feel it. And there's always this kind of background, like something's happening, and you're trying to push forward. So that's the new dynamic. The one thing I would say is that when you get the moments to push, you push, and when the opportunity isn't allowing itself, just kind of go with that. Okay, it's like, okay, it's not happening right now. It will happen. It will happen, but right now I've got to go make eggs, or every day the kid wakes up, she's like, "Can I have eggs?" I'm like, "No, I was doing something else, but okay, I'll make you eggs." Okay, just understand that's reality we're in right now, and to fight it is to add a lot of stress. And I'm the worst. I say this to you, and I'm the world's worst at it. I'm the world's worst at it. I get mad. Oh God, I was in the middle of doing something. No, that's just where we're at right now. Welcome to the pandemic. Um, but in a couple hours, we'll have portfolio potluck. Portfolio potluck, where I'll be looking at your portfolios. I'll be taking questions. I won't be giving. I'll be taking questions related to the job search through the pandemic. I encourage you all to pop in. I'll drop a Zoom link. This is going to be on Zoom. And Chris, why is it on Zoom? Well, because there's more than just me talking. It's not submitted questions. It's a conversation. And that Zoom link will be. I'll drop that into the general channel for anybody who's part of the new Pragmatic community. It's an open session. But just know that if you have questions, if you have not scheduled a weekly meeting with me yet, I know a lot of you have. Monday was very busy. I would encourage you to get one on the calendar so we can catch up and jump into your projects, so we can jump into your job search wherever you are. I want to help you through it. So without further ado, I'm Chris Courtney, New Pragmatic, and I will talk with all of you either at Portfolio Potluck at noon, or I will talk with you tomorrow for the feedback loop. Take care.